You found out they've been talking about you. Maybe it was a screenshot. Maybe someone thought you should know. Or maybe you walked into a room and felt the shift, the sudden silence, the too bright smiles, the conversation restarting a little too perfectly. And the strangest part is, it's not always the content of what they said that hurts the most. It's the fact that they said it at all, behind your back, to other people you thought you could trust. So you start replaying everything. Was it something you said? Did you act weird? Were you too honest, too quiet, too confident, too different? And underneath all of that is one burning question. Why can't they just stop? Here's the first thing your mind needs to hear. What happened may feel deeply personal, but gossip is often less about your character and more about someone else's social strategy. That doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it harmless, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't feel hurt. But it does change how you understand it. Because gossip is not new. It is one of the oldest social tools humans have ever used. Gossip feels personal because it uses your name, your choices, your mistakes, your relationships, or your private life as material. But the deeper function of gossip is usually not about the person being discussed. It is about the people doing the discussing.
Humans are social creatures. We survive by reading other people. We want to know who is safe, who is trustworthy, who breaks rules, who keeps promises, who shares resources, and who might hurt us. Long before modern systems of trust, gossip worked like social radar. It helped people figure out who was safe, who could be trusted, and who might be dangerous. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar argued that gossip may have served a similar function to grooming in primates. Grooming helped primates bond. Language helped humans do it faster. In that sense, talking about other people became one of the easiest ways to ask, are we on the same side? And even though we live in a very different world now, our brains still care deeply about social information. Who likes whom? Who can be trusted? Who is losing status? Who is gaining influence? These questions still matter because belonging still matters. Workplace whispers about someone's unprofessional behavior, they may be trying to decode the office rules. Group chat texts about a messy breakup, they may be reinforcing what the group judges. And when they talk about you, they may not be analyzing your flaws. They may be using your story to bond with each other. And sometimes, whether they realize it or not, to make sure you stand a little lower than they do. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains why gossip is so powerful. Because gossip is not just information, it is social positioning. When two people gossip, they are not only exchanging facts, they are checking whether they see the social world the same way. Do you see what I see? Are we on the same side? Can I trust you with this? That is why gossip can feel strangely bonding. It creates an exclusive little bond. And here is the uncomfortable truth. You may not be the focus of the conversation. You may just be the bridge two people are crossing to feel closer to each other. Sometimes, gossip uses your name as social glue. Now, occasional gossip is human. Most people do it at some point. Maybe they vent about a difficult boss. Maybe they worry about a friend's behavior. Not all gossip is malicious. Sometimes it is just people processing social information in a messy, imperfect way. But chronic gossip is different. When someone constantly talks about other people, when every conversation eventually turns into someone else's flaws, secrets, mistakes, appearance, relationship, personality, or failure, that usually reveals something deeper. People who cannot stop gossiping are often trying to solve an internal problem externally. The first pattern is about feeling small inside. When someone feels unstable internally, a quick way to feel better is to lower someone else. If they can make another person look dramatic, messy, fake, selfish, arrogant, or unprofessional, they get a temporary sense of superiority by contrast. The unspoken message becomes, at least I'm not like them. This is why gossip often sounds like moral concern, but feels like judgment. Someone might say, I'm just worried about her, but somehow the concern is shared with everyone except her. Someone might say,
I don't want to be mean, but, and then they continue being mean. The second pattern is about invisible rankings. In groups without clear hierarchies, friend groups, family systems, classrooms, social circles, or open plan offices, people often create invisible rankings. Who is respected? Who is included? Who gets attention? Who is quietly judged? Gossip helps people negotiate those rankings without saying it directly. When someone criticizes your choices, your appearance, your relationship, your career, your confidence, or your personality, they may be asking an unconscious question. Where do I stand compared to them? And if they can place you below them, they get to feel more secure for a moment. The third pattern is about testing loyalty. From an attachment perspective, people who feel unsafe or uncertain in relationships may use gossip as a way to check loyalty. They throw out a negative comment about a third person and watch your reaction like data. Agree and you're in. Stay neutral and they may feel unsure about you. Defend the person and suddenly you're not on their side. It is a loyalty test disguised as casual conversation. This is why gossip can spread so quickly in insecure groups. It gives people a shortcut to belonging. You do not have to build real trust, you just have to share the same target. And once a group has a shared target, everyone else feels temporarily safer.
Because if the group is judging someone else, at least for now, it is not judging you. That is one of the darker functions of gossip. It creates relief. Not because the problem is solved, but because attention has moved away from the people doing the talking. And this is when gossip becomes dangerous. Some people do not just share information, they shape perception. They tell one person one version of the story, another person a slightly different version. They leave out context, they add emotional emphasis, they turn confusion into suspicion, and slowly they influence how the group sees someone. This is where gossip becomes more than a bad habit. It becomes social sabotage. The goal is no longer connection. The goal is reputation management, not their own, but yours. They may not confront you directly. They may not say anything openly, but behind the scenes, they plant little doubts. She's not as nice as she seems. He's kind of difficult. I don't know, something feels off about them. These comments are small, but socially, they're powerful. Because reputation does not usually collapse from one dramatic accusation. It often changes through repeated hints, small suggestions, raised eyebrows, half stories, strategic silence. And the painful part is that you may never get a chance to respond to a version of the story you were never allowed to hear clearly. That is why being gossiped about can feel so destabilizing. You are not just hurt, you feel socially unsafe. You start wondering who knows what, who believes what, who is pretending, who has already made up their mind. Your brain treats social rejection like danger because for most of human history, being rejected by the group was dangerous. So no, you are not too sensitive for feeling hurt. You are having a human response to a social threat. But here's the important shift. The pain is personal. The mechanism is social. And once you understand the mechanism, you can respond with more clarity and less panic. So what do you actually do when you are the target of gossip? Not in an ideal world. In the real world, where confronting everyone may create more drama, where silence can be misunderstood, where defending yourself too much can make you look guilty, and where pretending not to care doesn't always work. Here are 4 tools, not to control what everyone says about you, because you cannot, but to protect your peace, your reputation, and your sense of self. First, reframe the narrative in your own mind. When you hear that people are talking about you, your brain will immediately try to explain it. They must think I'm terrible. I must have done something wrong. I need to fix this. I need to make everyone understand me. But that's only one interpretation. Try this instead. This gossip tells me something about the group. It shows there is uncertainty. It shows someone may be feeling insecure. And it may be their way of building a bond, a hierarchy, or a story. This does not mean you dismiss everything. If there is useful feedback, take it. If you made a mistake, own it. If you hurt someone, repair it. But do not automatically turn gossip into a verdict on your worth.
Sometimes gossip is not a mirror. Sometimes it is a projection. Second, use strategic transparency. Ambiguity is gossip's oxygen. The more unclear something is, the more people can fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. So if the gossip is about something factual, a decision you made, a misunderstanding, a mistake, a change, a boundary, or a situation people are speculating about, it can help to clarify it calmly. But do this carefully. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone. You do not need to hold a public trial. And you do not need to chase every rumor. Only address what needs to be addressed with the people who actually need clarity. The goal is not to defend yourself. It is to remove the oxygen. For example, instead of saying, "I know everyone has been talking about me," you might say, "I've heard there may be some confusion about why I turned down that project, so I just want to clarify it once. I'm focusing on a different priority right now, and it wasn't the right fit." Calm, brief, non-defensive. You are not begging to be understood. You are removing unnecessary ambiguity, and that cuts off the oxygen. Third, identify your real allies and invest there. Gossip is painful, but it is also informative. It shows you who participates, who stays silent, who changes the subject, who tells you with care, and who tells you because they enjoy the drama. That information matters. But be careful. Not everyone who brings you gossip is your ally. Sometimes the person who says, "I just thought you should know," is genuinely trying to protect you. But sometimes they are enjoying their role as the messenger. So notice their energy. A real ally brings information with care. A dramatic messenger brings it with excitement. You do not need to confront every person. You do not need to win over everyone, but you do need to reallocate your emotional energy. Stop overinvesting in people who repeatedly discuss you without care. Start investing in people who show consistency, discretion, and loyalty. The goal is not to become paranoid. The goal is to become selective, and the right people will notice the difference.
Fourth, practice the gray rock response when gossip tries to pull you in. Sometimes people will gossip about you, but sometimes they will gossip to you. They will bring you someone else's private life, mistake, relationship, insecurity, or humiliation. And in that moment, they may be testing whether you will join the pattern. You do not have to lecture them. You do not have to act morally superior. You do not have to give a speech about kindness. Just become boring. Give them nothing to feed on. A simple, I don't really know enough about that, or, yeah, I'm staying out of that one, is enough. Gossip often needs emotional fuel, surprise, outrage, curiosity, laughter, agreement. Without emotional fuel, the flame dies out. Over time, people learn something about you. You are not useful for that kind of bonding. You are not the person who will help them tear someone else down, and that becomes part of your reputation. A quiet one, but a powerful one, because people may not always say it out loud, but they notice who can be trusted with other people's names. Now, here is what I want you to take with you. Gossip is human. It is ancient. It is part of how people navigate social life. But human does not always mean healthy, and ancient does not always mean wise. Some gossip helps people understand danger. Some gossip helps people process confusion. But chronic gossip often reveals insecurity, status anxiety, relational fear, or a desire for control. So when people talk about you, remember this: their words are not automatically the truth about you. Sometimes they are bonding. Sometimes they are managing anxiety. Sometimes they are trying to feel powerful. Sometimes they are building a story that makes their own position feel safer. That does not make it okay, but it means you do not have to treat their version of you as your identity. You are not on trial, and you are not required to perform for people who were never your real audience. Because the truth is, everyone gets talked about. People will misunderstand your confidence. They will misread your boundaries. They will interpret your choices through their own fears.
You cannot control every story people tell, but you can control how much power those stories have over you. You can stay grounded. You can clarify when needed. You can choose your allies wisely. You can refuse to become part of the same cycle. And once you stop performing for the wrong audience, you get your attention back. That is not bitterness. That is clarity. And clarity is freedom. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen gossip used to bring people together or to control them? Share your thoughts in the comments, because gossip is something everyone recognizes, but very few people stop to understand. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.